When I did my footman only run, I thought I was creating a revolution. I created a new world where everyone would be free by the sword, where the corrupt nobility would be crushed by a tide of ordinary people. It would be a world where arrogant knights would be eliminated, where every person with a sword was free to live as they pleased, free from the tyranny of government and class warfare. At least, that's what I thought. Like so many revolutionaries who came before me, I forgot one tragic, crucial detail. Human nature never changes. I thought I was freeing the lower class, but I was just creating a new hierarchy. Despite Danath's best efforts to respect workers, the Footman Republic devolved into class warfare. Those with swords would oppress those without. The hard-working peasant, the beating heart of any human colony, found themselves with even fewer rights than before the uprising. There is only one solution. Classes would need to be abolished altogether for the proud worker to obtain their rightful place in society. That is why, today, I am asking the age-old question, can you beat Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness with only commanding workers? The first few levels are trivial, so let's skip to level 4, which gives us a good example of what this run is going to look like. The orcs have a small base on the other side of an ocean, and my workers need to rise up and destroy it. Peasants are extremely frail, dying quickly to any unit that actually hits them. On their own, peasants have a basic attack that deals very low damage, but with a surprisingly fast attack speed. With Micro, a group of peasants can take on lone unupgraded grunts, and they have a surprisingly good matchup against unarmored targets like axe throwers and ballista. The biggest challenge when it comes to microing peasants is their AI, which will automatically make them run away from any conflict without fighting back. Normally, this is a good thing because sane people don't want peasants in their front lines. For me though, this means that every time I want my peasants to actually kill something, I need to specifically order the attack, which makes naval landings ridiculously micro-intensive and almost impossible. Peasants cannot A-move, they can only attack specific targets, which makes large armies of peasants extremely challenging to control. After my first couple of attempts at landing directly in the orc base fails, I change tactics using guard towers to clear out nearby ships. Because microing large armies of peasants is nearly impossible in this game, tower rushing is going to be required for pretty much every level. My strategy here is essentially to set up a beachhead in a quiet area, protect it with towers, protect the towers with a small army of peasants, then slowly creep forward until I start engaging the enemy base. The orc base on this level is pretty small, and destroying it isn't a problem this time. Mission 5, Catapults and Guard Towers. Level 5 starts with an allied base of heathenistic army users under attack. Now, in this run, I'm specifically not giving any commands and not training any army units, but I am not preventing them from killing enemies. This allows my starting footmen to kill a couple enemies to make the start doable, but also creates a problem immediately after. I have a ton of useless footmen and archers on my starting island, supply blocking me, and by my rules I cannot order them to kill each other. Therefore, I send a couple of peasants to the back island to do this thankless job for me, intentionally killing my army to free up supply. Because towers cannot be ordered to attack in this game, I actually have no way of killing my starting ships in this run, even if I wanted to do so. After a while, I send a group of peasants to the Orc Island and find a small, undefended area just south of the Orc gold mine where I can build some towers. Just as my towers finish, a catapult finds my alcove and threatens to destroy it. Then an Orc attack wave piles on extra damage. Thankfully, catapults prioritize peasants higher than they prioritize targeting towers, so I'm just barely able to lure the catapult into guard tower range and destroy it. The attack wave also forgets about saving their base just when it's about to crush my attack, so the towers survive. With no resistance, they're free to shoot at orc peons mining gold, which means I've successfully bankrupted the orcs. From here on out, the attack is pretty easy. Cannon towers can outrange and destroy guard towers, so my peasants can slowly creep through the base with little resistance. Mission 6. Ogres are terrifying. The next couple levels don't have naval sections, which makes things a bit easier. I can clear out a bit of the map just running around with peasants, until I reach a barracks far away from the main orc base. I use my peasants to get the building burning, then construct guard towers in between this barracks and the orc base. As the guard towers are upgrading, a few ogres run into my peasants, and give them a great demonstration of how hard peasants fall off against armored targets. I try to engage them, but the ogres absolutely massacre my army of workers, killing off every single one before the guard towers finish. Still, this was all worth it. With their barracks burning, the orcs will perpetually send peons out to repair it until they go bankrupt. Their peons can't get past my wall of towers, and I'm free to advance on the main base. Constructing a group of towers near the base is expensive and costs the lives of many brave peasants, but once they finish, they rip through the outer orc towers. I then expand to the last gold mine on the map to continue funding my tower offensive, then wipe out the last orcs on the map. Mission 7. A horrifying blockade. I'm going to start this section by correcting a mistake I made on a previous video. In my archers only video, I said it was impossible to get my peasants to a gold mine while only using my starting archers and peasants. Well, Admiral Iddy did it, and I'm just going to show you his footage here, because this micro looks painful and I don't want to even try it. Having been called out on being wrong twice so far in this level, I'm going to say that this level is probably actually impossible with only commanding peasants. I use my footmen and archers as a distraction to get a couple peasants to a gold mine, then I kill off the rest of my starting units. I could have easily had my peasants kill my knights before going to the base, so I don't feel too guilty about this. The second half of this level, though, is fun, so I'm going to try it legit. The orcs have a well-fortified coast full of ships and cannon towers. Destroying this coastline with peasant attack waves feels completely hopeless. Cannon towers, ogres, and a destroyer just massacre my attack, and I can barely issue any commands before my army is completely dead. At this point, I'm feeling a bit desperate. Going into this challenge, I predicted it would be impossible because of naval landings, and at this point, I'd already given up on peons only because of them. I need a new strategy. I need some way to establish a landing site before I move in, but without any guns, I'm not sure how to do that. Then it hits me. I may not have guns, but the orcs sure do, and I can use them. Enter the flying machine. I'm allowing this unit because it's a scouting unit that can't deal damage, but it sure does anger orc destroyers. On a whim, I move my destroyer down near the landing site, having it patrol just at the edge of a destroyer's range. The destroyer fires at my flying machine, misses, and hits the ogres beneath. Then, it happens again. And again. My flying machine can dodge the destroyer's shots, while their destroyer kills 2 ogres with splash damage. Amazed that my new tactic actually works, I try to destroy the enemy cannon tower next. And it works. This one destroyer single-handedly created a weak spot in the otherwise impenetrable orc defenses. Taking advantage, I send 6 peasants down to breach it. The destroyer, a second cannon tower, and an axe thrower start attacking my peasants immediately when I unload. However, by making my 6 peasants a control group before going in, I can unload and immediately order my workers to flee the shore and build a lone tower. Several peasants sacrifice themselves to kill an enemy axe thrower and construct a cannon tower inside the orc base. This blasts apart the traitorous destroyer and secures me a landing zone. This attack is still going to be far from easy. Peasants can take out lone cannon towers, but will get massacred if the tower has any unit or overlapping tower support. So I go back to flying machines, trying to create more ways to get the orcs to destroy their own base. Finding the perfect angle is challenging and easy to mess up, especially when axe throwers are attacking my flying machines. I park my flying machine on an enemy troll, ordering the cowardly pilot to hover in place as the destroyer kills this pesky nuisance. Then, I find the right angle and get rid of another grunt. Soon, another cannon tower goes down. My next flying machine takes out another troll, then gets rid of another grunt alongside a few walls. With the orc defenses weakened, my next wave of peasants is able to heavily damage a cannon tower and lure a destroyer to its untimely demise. With another 6 peasants, I destroy a low health tower, giving me enough space to construct a town hall in their base and take their gold mine. From here, it's easy enough to take out the rest of the orc base, destroy all the oil refineries, and complete the level. Mission 8. Stealthy Construction. Sadly, Tyr's hand starts the player with 0 peasants, so it's impossible to do with just workers. It is, however, possible to do without using your army to attack. Heretical peasants who don't like getting slaughtered on the front lines are rebelling, daring to suggest that we might need knights and footmen to protect them. These peasants forgot to be careful what they wished for, as the heroic defenders of old arrived to save them. Thrilled at seeing their fairy tale heroes, these rebels follow the knights and footmen directly into an orc base, never to be heard from again. Once I get my peasants, setting up and defending my base is pretty easy. Then I send 18 peasants to the top of Purple's base, mowing down opponents along the way. I try to hold the back of their base with a few towers, but purple counterattacks before I can upgrade into guard towers, destroying my entire army. I quickly regroup, sending in another 18 peasants to mount a frontal assault on purple's base. This goes shockingly well, as my peasants overwhelm the defenders. My workers tear down purple's structures and construct guard towers throughout their base, taking out my first enemy of the game. With purple's gold mine, I have a lot more money to construct large armies now, so I charge red's base with 18 peasants. I'm hoping to construct some towers north of red's base, but a couple of axe throwers find my army. Engaging the axe throwers aggroes the rest of red's army. While my peasants put up a really good fight, they ultimately get slaughtered by the better equipped orcish army. My next attempt, blue's army finds me well that the towers are upgrading. Blue's bloodlusted ogre magi are way too much for my peasants to fight directly, so I run back to my base, hoping to distract the army for long enough for my towers to finish. This works, as many peasants sacrifice their lives to give me a forward position north of red's base. With guard towers in the area, things go differently. Blue finds my next wave of peasants, but my towers hold, and I am able to slowly creep forward towards red's base. Once my towers reach red's gold mine, it's all over for them, and only blue remains. Blue's base is significantly more challenging to assault than the other two. Their base is protected by a ring of towers, locked into a corner that's surrounded by unbuildable terrain. While I can use towers to secure a foothold on the edges of their base, I don't immediately see any easy way to assault it. After scouting around, I find one lone cannon tower that's surrounded by a wall and far away from any supporting units. Sending in a few peasants at a time, I chip at the walls until they break, then try to target the cannon tower down. Many peasants sacrifice themselves to tear down this wall, but just as I'm about to destroy the tower, blue finds me. Bloodlusted trolls start shooting my peasants to protect their tower, but they're just barely too late. I destroy the wall and open up a pass to assault blue's base directly. Seizing the opportunity, I build 5 towers in an undefended area north of blue's base. By the time blue army respawns and sends a counterattack, it's way too late. My towers are operational, and my tide of endless workers is unstoppable. I get pretty low on gold by the end, but my victory was never in doubt. Mission 9, the Nonviolent Rebellion. After a quick non-base level, we head to the prisoners. A new group of peasants are rebelling by removing their attack command, which they hope will make this challenge impossible, forcing us to train footmen to survive. To make things even more frustrating, 8 footmen start next to these prisoners, and I have no immediate way to kill them. While these rebels are certainly good at upsetting society, they will not stop the peasant army from taking back their nation. To win, I need to forcibly move these prisoners to re-education camps so they can enter present society. And to do that, I need to make a naval landing. Red is normally a stopgap that forces you to have a small land army to get past, but for peasants, they are an existential threat. Ogres, axe throwers, catapults, and a cannon tower line the shore, and my only way to get through is to power past it with peasants. First, I pre-control group all my peasants to make them easier to control once I land. Then, to unload more units at a time, I use a trick I learned when watching Admiral Iddy's Deathless run: mass casting. In Warcraft 2, if you select a unit ability, then hit Alt, then hit the number that corresponds to the control group the unit is in, you actually get the ability to have multiple units select a spell at the same time. So, by clicking my transport, clicking Unload, then hitting Alt 4, I can select 4 transports at the same time, and have all of them unload at once. This strategy lets me unload 18 peasants onto the shore at the same time, which lets me deal a ton of damage to the enemy cannon tower before reinforcements finish me off. This technique, though, is still super janky, and one of my transports couldn't find a spot to unload. My last 6 peasants successfully take out Red's cannon tower, but die before they can do anything else. Blue is constantly harassing my shores with ships and ground waves, which makes it challenging to send as many peasants as I'd like to. Blue's destroyers intercept my transports and force me to repair a couple times. Their ground waves break through and assault my town halls directly, and I only have 18 peasants left. My peasants destroy Catapult, but it isn't enough. Red's ogres slaughter me, and I need to reset. Next attempt, instead of trying to defeat the orcs directly, I try to land my peasants then run to the other side of Red's island. I'm hoping at least one peasant can survive to construct a tower. This fails spectacularly, so I adjust again, going with smaller waves of 1 transport at a time. These smaller waves are a bit easier to control than the larger waves, and also sometimes aggro fewer ogres to fight them. These waves are not efficient, but they do make very gradual progress. This time, I destroy the cannon tower and every ranged unit on the island before running my peasants to the other side of the island. My peasants get killed, but my hope is that they lure enough ogres away from the front of the base that my peasants can get up a tower. Next wave, I unload 6 peasants at the far edge of Red's base, constructing a scout tower there. The ogres destroy my tower, but not before I learn some critical information. The enemy AI prioritizes targeting my transport over targeting a scout tower. Suddenly, I have hope. My next 3 attempts this level go nowhere, but then I finally get an attempt where I manage to kill every single ranged unit on the island with about 4,000 gold to spare. I unload 1 peasant onto the island and start a scout tower, this time only aggroing 1 ogre to attack it. By moving my transport back and forth to the shore, I get the ogre stuck trying to decide what to attack, giving my guard tower just enough time to finish. At that point, I unload my 3 remaining peasants, repair my tower, and start luring ogres towards it. Blue sends in their juggernaut towards the coast and blows up my tower, but they were too late. All the ogres are dead, and this island is mine. At this point, I think I've done it. I build a town hall on the island so I can scoop up the gold mine there, and start rebuilding fortifications on my main base. Then I look back at the island and realize I've made a huge mistake. Red has 1 juggernaut that I didn't account for. It aggroes to one of my peasants, then starts shooting at my new town hall. I try to build a cannon tower to contest it, but I don't have a blacksmith, and my money is still extremely low. It destroys my town hall, but I'm still in this. I have 2,000 gold, so I build another one further north, out of the Juggernaut's range. Then I start mining again, thinking I have this, but once again, I miscalculate. My tower screws up my peasants' pathing, forcing them to walk within Juggernaut range to get back to the town hall, and I lose all 4 of my mining peasants. I have 700 gold left, which leaves room for 1 more peasant. This time, I manually control my peasant, trying to make sure it never crosses the Juggernaut's path while mining. This is a slow process, and blue is seriously messing up my main base, but if I can just get enough money for a cannon tower, this will all be worth it. I earn enough money to build a blacksmith and upgrade to a cannon tower, and... I miscalculated. My tower is 8 range away from the Juggernaut. It's completely useless. Then, I mismicro my peasant, Red's Juggernaut kills my last island Carl, and I lose. Absolutely devastating. At least now I know what to do, and I get a similar position on my next attempt. This time, I build my town hall further up north, and build my cannon tower far away from my mining path. I still mess up my cannon tower placement, not once, but twice, and I have to construct 3 towers to get to Red's Juggernaut. But it doesn't kill any extra peasants, and I'm able to get all the extra gold from this island. With my extra gold, I construct a fleet of 9 transports, then brave the river of cannon towers. Once I reach the prisoners, I take a break to repair my ships, load up the prisoners, then escape back to the island. From there, I can finally kill the footmen guards, then transport the prisoners to their re-education camps. Mission 10, Pop Quiz. It turns out these prisoners are not alone, as a large, incompetent army marches to rescue them from their liberation. The noble class is discovering that all their fancy swords are useless without the infrastructure and resources to support them that the worker class provided, and their last hope is in rescuing these traitorous peasants. Once they've cleared their way through and freed the peasants from their imprisonment, reality dawns on these soldiers as they realize how bad a mistake they made. These peasants, once wishing for their liberation, have seen the light of the peasant revolution. Our once prisoners killed the army that liberated them, then attempt to prove themselves worthy of rejoining peasant society by earning top marks in their final exam. Question 1. There is a dragon by the gold mine. How can the workers establish superiority over such a foe?
This one is simple. Just construct a guard tower near the dragon, then charge in with axes. Once the weak archers are taken care of, retreat to the tower and repair as needed.
Excellent work, prisoner maces. On to question 2. Can 18 peasants take on an army of 2 knights and a footman without tower support?
Ooh, I know this one. 18 is bigger than 3, but do the rosters count? Then it's 5, and then it's again, and...
Oof, tough luck, Prisoner Dakka. Question 3. Please construct a tower just out of range of that cannon tower there.
I think it goes right here.
Oof. That looks painful, Prisoner Sparke. Question 4. Can our cannon towers counter enemy cannon towers?
Well, by my calculations, if we get the tower up before a shot destroys it, and keep it repaired while it's upgrading, our tower should eventually win the...
Carl, no! I think that one is doable if we don't screw it up. Question 5. How do peasants counter mages?
Hope they don't have Blizzard and then walk in front of our guard towers for no reason?
Correct!
Wait, really? Is that a consistent strategy?
Absolutely not, Prisoner Carmen, but it's still our best option. Question 6. What is the best way to cripple an enemy base?
Oh, place towers in between their town hall and their gold mine.
Correct, Peasant Zooks. Though if you can't do that, getting towers in between their town hall and a low health building works just as well. Final question. Can peasants counter cannon towers?
Once the tower's unsupported,
Peasants will rule the day.
And destroy everything in their path.
For engineering!
For equality!
For the peasant dominion!
And thus, those that survived the re-education camp returned to society. The Peasant Rebellion had seen the light. Humans were united once more under the banner of the Peasant Dominion. Mission 11. Navy Not Required. The Battle at Crestfall is a naval mission where I have to destroy all the enemy's shipyards, refineries, and transports. My first step is mining an outlying oil patch to get enough oil to train one transport. Then, I quickly send 6 peasants in a transport to the undefended area west of Red's base before fortifying my landing area with towers and town halls. After that, I just slowly crawl my way through Red's base with towers and peasants. It takes a while, but I have so much money that I'm never really in any danger of failing. After a walk through the base, I've gotten rid of every single shipyard and refinery, and they only have transports remaining. 2 of their transports are embarked at the shore, so one peasant can easily hack them apart. Looking around, I find one more transport in red health, in the middle of a bay near the shore. I don't know if it's in tower range, but I construct a tower anyway just to see if I can hit it. My first 2 towers don't shoot, and I'm worried it's too far away. Then I build a 3rd tower, and it hits the transport. The transport runs away in the wrong direction, heading closer to the shore in range of another one of my towers. My cannon tower strikes true, and I win. If the transport had fled further out into the sea, I would have lost access to it forever and been forced to destroy every structure on the map in order to allow myself to train destroyers. Thankfully, I didn't need to do that. The land invasion was successful and the Orcish naval infrastructure has been eliminated. Mission 12. Complete Mayhem. We're nearing the climax of this campaign, but we have one brutal level to get through first. The Orcs have 2 heavily fortified bases to the north, alongside a small island base in the center of the map. Attacking any of these bases will require a naval landing, which is terrifying. On my first attempt, things start pretty badly as I don't build up enough defenses, and Ogre Magi start slaughtering peasants. While I eventually stabilize, this seriously slows down my progress and I have to spend a lot of money rebuilding. My first goal is to destroy Orange's Dragon Roost and free up their gold mine on the central island. Attacking from the south is a non-starter. That side is filled with soldiers, ships, and guard towers and dragons that make a naval landing impossible. The north side looks a little more promising as there's empty land there to unload my peasants. There's just barely enough space to construct 2 guard towers to defend against enemy dragons, which provides just enough cover for my attack to begin. Chopping some lumber to free up space, I'm able to construct a cannon tower just above Orange's northern guard tower. My cannon tower starts blasting, but it can't make meaningful progress while Orange continuously repairs their guard tower, so I send in a few presents as reinforcements. With the additional damage, the guard tower goes down, and I have a path to Orange's base. My heroic cannon tower is eventually taken out by a dragon, but it's done its job. Pretty soon I build my own guard tower in place of Orange's, and it kills all of Orange's mining peons on the island. While I'm making progress, this operation is expensive and sending reinforcements takes time. A dragon eventually destroys my guard tower, while a nearby destroyer makes it tough to repair, so I construct a cannon tower in the spot instead. I try to reinforce the cannon tower with the guard tower, but I move in a bit too far, aggroing a defending dragon. It looks like my guard tower might finish just in time to secure the position, but then a second dragon comes in, blowing up all my hopes. At least I got rid of the destroyer and another guard tower in that wave, so I'm still making progress. Unfortunately, my money is really low and my decision making isn't much better. Instead of unloading at my save point, I try to assault a guard tower to the south directly, throwing more peasants into Juggernaut and guard tower fire. Still, I've carved out enough space at this point that I can construct more towers. Cannon towers can fire on enemy guard towers, while my guard towers defend against dragons. It was a bloody campaign rife with many miscalculations and unnecessary deaths, but I eventually destroy the dragon roost and conquer the central island. My next goal is to destroy Orange's main base, and things there do not look good. Orange's base is fortified with guard towers near the coast, and they have a large army that can quickly respond to any invasions. My best hope seems to be a narrow section to the north of their base that's filled with forests and unguarded by towers. There's no space to build towers initially, but by strategically chopping bits of the forest, I'm able to construct a guard tower near their gold mine. My hope is to just kill all their peons without aggroing their army. As soon as my guard tower takes shots at their peons though, an enemy catapult and ogre charge my tower, destroying it. My next attempt to tower rush meets a similar fate, and I realize that I'm in for a long siege. Instead of tower rushing again, I just construct the lumber mill on the island, chopping more lumber to free up as much building space as I can. This works well until I chop my way directly into the enemy base, aggroing Orange's army. My peasants get spotted and slaughtered. My next attempt is a much larger assault, with 2 cannon towers, 3 guard towers, and multiple groups of peasants sent to destroy an annoying cannon tower to the south. These attacks go disastrously. Any peasant that ventures too deep into the orc base gets death-coiled, so I don't have the damage to deal with that cannon tower. Catapults find my tower and start razing them to the ground. Sending reinforcements to this fight is a nightmare because I have to transport them in from other bases. The orcs eventually clear out my army, and I've barely made any progress. To make matters worse, my attacks seem to have lit a fire in the enemy Death Knights, who have started to patrol their base more actively now. Death Coil immediately kills half my peasants whenever I try to unload, forcing me to train so many peasants to just act as meat shields. I try another massive assault, this time managing to construct 3 guard towers and a cannon tower near their gold mine. I also send in 12 peasants at once to assault the southern cannon tower that claims so many lives. Death Coil immediately whittles down my numbers, but enough peasants survive to let me take out the tower. I try to unload another 6 peasants, but they get slaughtered immediately, taking out 1 Death Knight in the process. I'm running out of money now, so I only use 3 peasants for my next assault, which backfires horribly. Orange's remaining catapults find my towers and start shooting at them. Reacting quickly, I send in 6 more peasants to take out the catapult, Orange's final Death Knight, and a troll, but lose every peasant in the process. With the Death Knights and catapults gone, the battlefield gets quieter. I've neutralized Orange, but at a ridiculously high cost. Their gold mine only has 5,000 gold left, which leaves me about 26,000 gold to clean up Orange and take out Red. This might sound like a lot, but when every cannon tower costs 1,500 gold each, it's just not anywhere close to enough. By the time I've taken out Orange, I'm down to 16,000 gold, and Red's base is massive. I flail around for a while, contemplating my situation, but I'm dead and I know it. It's time to reset. My next attempt, I try a cheese tactic, immediately sending a peasant to tower rush Orange's main base. I'm hoping to strike them before they can build up catapults and Death Knights, but their first attack wave just hits my guard tower instead of my main base, blowing up any hope that this plan can succeed. My third attempt, I prioritize getting early defenses while also attacking the center island earlier. My hope is that if I cut down on my mistakes, I can play more efficiently, preventing Orange from mining so much gold, then have an overwhelming economy to slowly wear down Red. At first, things play out pretty similarly. I lose a ton of peasants trying to take out Orange's northern guard tower, but I'm ultimately successful. I just barely manage to defend a guard tower that takes out all of Orange's peons, then slowly creep my way through the base, eventually destroying their dragon roost. The execution here was far from perfect, but I'm in much better shape this time around. My next test is Orange's base, and things go quite poorly again. My first attack is 3 cannon towers, but catapults find them and blast them apart before my reinforcements can arrive. My next attempt, I construct 4 cannon towers and ambush enemy catapults via a naval assault. This kills the catapults, but not before they obliterate my towers again, and the orcs easily rebuild their catapults before I can advance any further. My next attempt, I get really lucky. Things look disastrous after I fail to kill a catapult with naval assault, then my buildings are besieged by 2 of these ranged machines. However, the scout tower finishes upgrading to a guard tower just in time, killing one of the catapults that was attacking a cannon tower behind it. Then, my peasant lures the second catapult into guard tower range, and my towers are suddenly alive and unopposed. I get greedy, attempting to destroy a cannon tower with 5 peasants, but Deathcoil quickly stamps out that dream. Still, my towers have done enough. All of Orange's peons are slain, their buildings near my towers have been destroyed, and there's still 27,000 gold left in Orange's main. Instead of continuing my costly assault on Orange's gold mine, I unload my peasants to the south. I construct a cannon tower within enemy guard tower range, using my other peasants to keep it healthy for long enough for it to become a cannon tower. I carefully kite defending units into my towers, then use peasants to destroy the undefended southernmost cannon tower in the base. With so much more space to maneuver, I easily take out Orange's remaining catapult. Making my way through the rest of my base takes time, and Orange's Death Knight murders an annoying amount of peasants, but my victory is inevitable. I eventually lure the Death Knight into my towers, then slowly finish off Orange. This time, by the time I've mined out the map, I still have 80,000 gold to be used to invade Red. Red's base is massive, but my tactics still work for it. Cannon towers can take out guard towers protect my cannon towers from being overrun by most enemies, and peasants help destroy any catapults that threaten my towers. By luring out a few units at a time and advancing slowly, taking the base is manageable. I'm trying so hard to be cost efficient that I actually bankrupt Red through repair costs, then move in on their fortress. Red's Death Knights notice my peasants, and things suddenly get a lot harder. One Death Knight runs into my cannon tower for no reason, but the others start using Death and Decay on my approaching towers. My most cost efficient approach is to use flying machines to force their Death Knights to cast Whirlwind, hopefully destroying their own towers in the process. This tactic, while theoretically effective, is painfully slow, so I eventually give up and start charging coastal towers with peasants. My first peasant charge is initially a disaster, as my peasants get death-coiled immediately and barely dent the tower. An ogre mage bloodlusts the Death Knight as it chases my lone surviving peasant to the ends of the earth and into my towers. This wasn't my original plan, but I'll take it. One more Death Knight down. I send 12 more peasants to charge these cannon towers, and this time they sacrifice themselves to destroy one. I look around for a while and think, then decide on my next course of action. Instead of attacking from the east, I attack from the south, constructing a tower beneath their base. The only buildable spot is within range of 2 enemy guard towers, but with repairs, I'm able to get up a cannon tower. Then, an ogre mage and 3 trolls find my cannon tower. By all rights, this attack should be hopeless, but there's a catch. Repair is absurd. With 3 peasants repairing my cannon tower, I actually win the fight, kill the enemy units, and destroy the enemy towers. With the destruction of these 2 guard towers and removal of all of Red's Death Knights, their base is finally mine. Blackrock Spire with only workers is a tedious slog, but it's all about efficiency. After Red's main base is destroyed, I start hunting down the rest of the orc ships with towers. I need to use some destroyers to lure enemy ships towards my towers, and we're on to the last level. Mission 13. Endgame. Sadly, the Dark Portal is where this challenge falls apart, and it's not even close. We start with a massive army with no base, and to take a base we need to destroy a heavily fortified orc outpost across the sea. So, I need to command my starting units here, and this level is a failure. Or is it? In future Blizz games, transports can pick up units without actually commanding the unit. If we treat loading and unloading from a transport as a transport command instead of an army command, now we're getting somewhere. I load up my soldiers in my transports, then immediately unload them all next to the orc cannon towers. My units engage the orcs in a tense, hard-fought battle, and when the smoke clears, I've taken out all 3 cannon towers with a single footman remaining. This is just barely enough to give my peasants space to land on the island and start a base. My first priority is to get a lumber mill and a town hall, then start constructing guard towers everywhere like my life depends on it. I get a bit lucky as White's first dragons attack my starting destroyers, buying me just enough time to get up a defense. Without microing my starting army, I've secured a gold mine. Honestly, I didn't think that would be possible before I tried it. Things are far from secure. My starting gold mine does not have very much gold in it, and I need to expand north. First, I lure Orange's remaining ogres to my towers, then secure the mine with more defenses. Moving around this map is terrifying, because even straying slightly outside the protective walls of my towers can lead a peasant to a fiery grave. I need to balance out trying to mine enough gold to pay for my defenses and retreating to my towers whenever dragons arrive. It takes time to construct a guard tower, and if a dragon finds my tower while it's still constructing or upgrading, it can easily destroy the tower and set back my progress. Even when the towers provide some protection, mining is still a notoriously unsafe operation, and many peasants die in tragic dragonfire-related accidents. When my towers destroy Orange's Altar of Storms, the remaining Ogre Magi and 3 additional dragons charge my base. They destroy the outer edges of my base, but my main defenses hold and I've stabilized. I want to expand further east, but there's a massive problem. There are 3 enemy Death Knights that will start harassing me if I build too far east, and I do not have the tools to withstand their attacks. In preparation for my next move, I tuck up to a keep, then train my ultimate unit, the Gnomish Flying Machine. See, while Death Knights are terrifying, they also have severe social anxiety. By sending a flying machine to watch them, the Death Knights buckle under the pressure and decide to leave me alone. If you park your flying machine over their buildings, they won't even cast Whirlwind at it. They'll just stare awkwardly for the rest of time. As long as my flying machine stays closer to the Death Knights than any of my peasants, they're completely passive. With my resources mined out, I need to expand to a new lumber area. My plan is to blitz out as many guard towers as I can around the trees, then construct a lumber mill there. The problem is dragons. Just as I try to move out, dragons find my peasants and I retreat. Then, I try to move out again, only to get ambushed by more flying monstrosities. This time, I just bite the bullet and set up guard towers in their face. White's dragons massacre my peasants as my supply plummets from 30 to 10. Despite this disaster, my towers eventually complete, clearing out a small safe-ish area for my peasants to chop more trees. My next goal is to invade Black and take their gold mine. On this map, Black is an enemy with a large base, but they don't have any peons, train any units, or send attack waves. Every Black unit I kill is permanent progress. My goal is to slowly make my way through the base, setting up forward guard towers, then luring Black units towards them. This strategy, while effective, has flaws. Dragons make constructing forward towers really difficult, seriously draining my gold reserves. Then, I make a critical error in judgment. I send out a group of peasants to destroy an enemy catapult, but the other Black units notice me. I stay a bit too long as Ogre Magi and Trolls slaughter my peasants' force, then chase my remaining peasants back to my towers. With Bloodlust and additional dragons supporting them, the Orc army makes quick work of my forward towers. I only have 9,000 gold left now, and I'm starting to get really worried. If I have another disaster like that, I'll run out of gold before I reach Black's mine. Fearing I can't make it, I switch tactics, constructing a shipyard and foundry. There's an undefended gold mine just north of my base, but to get to it, I need to either blow up a peasant-proof wall, or circumvent the wall with a transport. Unfortunately, to get a transport, I need 100 extra oil, and to get oil, I need to mine it. I'm committed to this strategy now, so I train 2 oil tankers, sending them up to an undefended oil platform to the northeast. Dragons find my platform immediately, but I don't need it to survive long. I just need 1 tanker to survive a trip home. My platform survives long enough, letting me train a single transport. I only have 2,000 gold left at this point, and that's a problem. I don't have the money to build a guard tower and a town hall at the same time, so I opt for the town hall, hoping the enemy dragons don't notice me. Unfortunately, when I make the hall, multiple dragons show up almost immediately, forcing me to cancel the structure. I try again, this time getting it about halfway complete, but without guard towers defending it, there's no way this is gonna work. I desperately fool myself into believing there's another gold mine on the map, but I can't find what's not there, and dragons kill my exploring peasants regardless. I'm now down to 1,400 gold and no peasants. I can't train a peasant and construct another town hall without more gold. I'm feeling demoralized at this point because I really don't want to restart the level. I think I was really lucky with dragon movement at the start of the mission, and I don't know if I'll be able to make that naval landing work again. Still, I don't have the resources available to neutralize black, and I can't expand to the northern mine, so I only have one option remaining. I wait. I spend 800 gold on training 2 more peasants, then repair my towers. As long as white has dragons, I can't make progress, but white won't have dragons forever. If I can keep my 2 peasants and my transport alive while white exhausts themselves attacking, I still have hope. I retreat my peasants behind my towers and prepare for an epic siege. As it turns out, waiting was 100% the right move here, because this siege barely lasts 10 more minutes before white runs out of money. White makes a final attack with 4 dragons that destroys several towers, but my main masses are standing and my peasants are untouched. I wait a bit longer than I need to, making sure they don't have a dragon hidden in the darkness, but my base lives with a transport and 2 peasants. Since peasants can carry gold on a transport, I can long distance mine from the northern gold until I have enough to construct a town hall. With white out of dragons, I don't even need to defend this hall with towers. I'm back in this. This northern mine doesn't have a huge amount of gold, and I only have about 10,000 gold to assault black. Still, without white's dragons causing a havoc, it's a lot easier to lure black's forces to my towers and destroy them piece by piece. I can even lure their Death Knights past my towers with the promise of a juicy peasant snack, so the Death Knights are not a huge problem. By the time I've neutralized black, I still have over 6,000 gold left. With black's massive gold mine, things are a lot less stressful. I can construct another shipyard on a northeastern island to get a steady supply of oil, then use towers to take out white's mostly undefended base. At long last, I've reached the Dark Portal. This cursed object is garrisoned by 3 Death Knights and a bunch of demons, which is definitely a problem. I need to construct guard towers on the island to engage the demons, which is not easy when my units are scattering everywhere and dying as soon as they land. On my first attempt, Miss Micro causes me to lose all my peasants and transports without making any progress. My second attempt looks like it's going almost as badly, but 2 peasants make it through the confusion and start constructing towers. The demons, unaware of their plight, target down my armored transports instead of my scout towers, giving them the precious time they need to turn into guard towers. The ambushers become the ambush as my towers rip through the demons and weaken the portal's defenses. Next wave, I decide to go for all-out aggression. The enemy Death Knights get the upper hand, dealing a deadly first blow with Death Coil. My peasants brave through the death of their comrades, charging down the Death Knights with their axes. The Death Knights can't withstand this onslaught of axes as the last of the portal's defenders fall. And thus, humanity has triumphed, proving once and for all that armies are unnecessary in the age of technology. The peasants have created a society where there is no power imbalance, where no unit is ever able to threaten another unit. This society is one that will forever be protected by the walls of towers, but the peasants never need to fear the tower operators turning on them, because they literally are incapable of doing it. There is no need for a sword, no need for a bow, there is only the peasant. Upon seeing humans triumph over their armed masters, the orcs become jealous and want to do the same thing. They know their journey will be even tougher than this one, filled with near impossible naval landings and massive enemy fortifications, but their hearts are pure. Can the orcs achieve the same utopia? Find out in my next video, where I attempt the orc campaign, only commanding peons.